You just say, hey.
Hey, we're live.
The vibe in these is so different. I love it. It's much less, we have to like be professional. This is just us, guys. This is just us hanging out together, and you can hang out too.
I feel like you're implying that we're not professional normally.
Right now, I don't need to bar. Our professional faces.
No, this is like recording an episode is a lot of mental overhead. I feel like we're doing a lot of work in the background while we're also trying to have like a genuine conversation.
Yep.
You know, some podcasts have producers.
Yeah.
And I always wondered, what does a producer do? And then, you know, having been a podcaster for several years, I'm like, God, it would be such a lift of my cognitive burden if I didn't have to think about anything else but the conversation I'm having.
Absolutely. Yep. It doesn't have to make narrative sense. It just has to follow the lead of the person coordinating, because we're doing it all.
Of course, and so I have no idea.
Don't have to be coordinated, and they don't have to have narrative through lines. So we can just talk.
Yeah. And welcome everybody. Thank you for joining us on a Friday to hang out, chill, ask us about the day 2 DevOps things. If you have questions, comments, whatever, throw them in chat. We'll address them as they come in. Anything good going on with you, Kyler?
I have a princess birthday party tomorrow for a 4-year-old. So I'm very excited. I'm all oranged up in my hair, and I have a little tiara, and it's going to be great.
Oh, you have a tiara? Do you have a wand?
I don't have a wand, but I think my daughter does. So I'm excited.
It's a requirement.
What about you, Ned? You been anywhere cool the past few days?
Funny you should ask.
Here's the narrative through line a little bit.
Oh, so good. Yeah. Last week, I was in San Francisco for the whole week to attend HashiConf. And it was quite an event. Really was. I don't know where to start. I guess I'll just start with like getting there, doing things, having fun. So I was in San Francisco, which I am in fairly often for various conferences and technical things. But this time I stayed really close to the Presidio. They had the actual conference was, I don't know. I actually didn't look up the history of the place at all, but it was at Fort Mason was the name of the place. And it was like 5 different buildings right on the bay. And they had the different portions of the conference spread across the buildings. It was a really unique place to have a conference. It wasn't your typical giant conference hall where it's big and echoey and I don't know, feels very corporate and unlived in. This was a very it was a different feel. I liked it. I enjoyed it.
Cool. Interesting. I love going to San Francisco, particularly when I don't have to pick up the bill for the credit cards and food and the amazing food at the waterfront, by the way. It's incredible.
I wish I could say that it was all paid for, but it was not.
Yeah.
Putting the bill on at least some of it. But yeah, when I got there, the day I got there, I went to a HashiCorp user group meetup that was at an Emporium, the Emporium Barcade. So it's like an arcade bar. It was a cool place to hang out, but maybe not the best place for a user group because it was super loud. But it was a really cool place.
I'm looking at pictures right now. It looks so fun.
It was super fun. We didn't do a whole lot of user grouping. We did a lot of just chatting, and that was definitely worthwhile on its own. To get there, I took a Waymo.
I have never ridden in one. I mean, you're still alive. So
I'm still alive. I survived. I don't know if anybody else watching has taken a Waymo yet. This was my first adventure, and the reason I took it was because I saw all these Waymos on my way from the airport to my hotel. They are everywhere. And I was thinking to myself, I wonder what you have to do to ride in one. And all you have to do is install an app. It's like stupid easy, right? So I installed the Waymo app and summoned a Waymo to take me from my hotel to the arcade, which is good because I'm not sure if you know, but San Francisco has some hills.
They do. Yes, they do.
And it was about 2 miles from my hotel to the barcade, but it would have felt like a lot more.
Absolutely.
Oh, and
Hey, April.
hey, April, a barcade. It was like Dave and Buster's, but much smaller and less focused on like taking all your money. So that was nice. But yeah, I summoned the Waymo and I had to meet it on a side street because it needs to find somewhere to like safely stop. And then it has a little spinning thing up top that can show different icons and whatnot, and it just shows your initials, so you know that Waymo is for you. And when you walk up to it, you press the unlock button on the app, and it unlocks the doors. And then you get in. You can get in the passenger seat, or you can sit in the back. And then there's a button that's just like start ride, and it welcomes you and drives you to your location. That's it.
That's awesome.
It was freaky. Because like it's still a regular car, right? Like it's some model of Jaguar. Sorry for all our international viewers. It's still a regular car, but they've bolted on all this extra technology. But it still has the gas pedal and the brake pedal, and it still has a steering wheel. It's just that the steering wheel's steering itself, which is. So you just see it.
Is there like a robot pushing the gas pedal? Is there?
No, there's no robot there. So it's all mechanized behind it. But you just see it actually still doing the things. It's like a ghost is driving you. Like a ghost. You have a ghost driver. But it got me there safely, and it got me back to the hotel safely. And I took it the next day to get to the HashiCorp office for the Ambassador Product Day, which is a day when the ambassadors just sit with the various product teams and talk about like what are they working on, what's our feedback on the current state of the different products, which is like maybe my favorite part of the whole thing. Manu. Yes, I think Manu, you did see me get out. He's a fellow HashiCorp ambassador. He was there too.
That's super cool.
Yeah. So that was awesome. And then the following day was the actual beginning of HashiConf, and there were several announcements regarding Terraform. You want me to run through those?
I would love that. It is so cool. Like I have feelings. I have capital F feelings about the IBM acquisition, but the rate of development for just Terraform, that's the one that I'm most familiar with, is so fast now. There's so many features, and I want to hear about them.
Okay. Yes. Awesome. Because that was like my central focus too. And like no shock to anyone else. Not there wasn't other cool things regarding like Boundary and Vault got some cool new stuff too. But really the focus was on Terraform and the big advancements made there. And one thing that I'll say that's really nice is 2 of the big things are part of Terraform core. So they're not like behind a paywall. They're just part of the core thing. So we'll talk about those, and then I'll mention some other things. The one is called Terraform Actions. And the use case behind this, or the idea behind this, is sometimes you want something imperative to happen that's beyond the standard create, update, delete actions that you typically see in an API. One example they gave was maybe before you destroy a database, you want it to take a snapshot every time, so you don't lose that. That seems useful. Or maybe like every time you update this set of web servers, you want to clear the cache on like CloudFront or something. So there's just some imperative action that you want to take, some lifecycle action you want to take that's not within the standard set of create, update, and destroy. And that is what Terraform Actions does. You probably would have solved this with provisioners in the past and like invoking a custom script through like the local exec provisioner.
Yep, null resources. I have solved both of your use cases with null resources, and they're kludgy. It just doesn't work very well. It never has.
Yeah, exactly. So the idea here was the big problem with provisioners is they break the standard Terraform workflow and they don't provide the necessary feedback for Terraform to know if it was successful. Actions still use the actual APIs behind like doing certain things. They might be invoking something in the data plane, but if you like wanted to take a database snapshot, it'll actually take the database snapshot and then know whether or not that action was truly successful. Whereas with like
That's
a
really
provisioner,
cool.
you had to write that logic yourself.
I love that. And being able to reference, like, I assume metadata is available or coming for that particular resource. Like if you're,
So the way it's actually implemented is actions is going to be its own top level block.
okay,
So you just define an action, and just like there's resource types and data source types, there'll be action types.
cool.
The way that you invoke an action is you tie it to the lifecycle block in another resource. That's one option. Or you can directly invoke it. So you can invoke an action when a resource is created, updated, or destroyed. And you can do it before or after any of those things occur. So you actually have like 6 entry points to tie an action to a resource.
Oh, I love that. It's like a pre-commit hook.
Right. So if you want to do
yeah.
something pre-create, you just tell it in the lifecycle block, invoke this or several actions before you create the resource, and it'll do it.
That's ridiculously powerful.
Yeah. And then the other option is there will actually be a command line, kind of like how you can replace a resource with the -replace. You'll be able to directly invoke a specific action using the Terraform CLI.
That is really cool. Huh, Terraform's the command driver for the cloud now. It's not just building resources, it's orchestrating stuff to happen. That's cool. That vision is amazing.
Yeah. What's Manu saying? Provisioners were always not recommended.
Don't I know it? And yet the business needed things to happen.
That is so true. For the longest time, yeah, provisioners were like, no, don't. But the people were like, I need it though.
Yeah, I just built one like earlier this week to build a Docker image, which is crazy. Like you shouldn't be doing this. This is like bootstrapping, I don't know, a rocket launcher to a car. Don't do it, but you can. And it's really cool. So it's great to see this stuff start to happen.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's not a ton of actions yet because now that the framework's there in Terraform Core, it's up to the providers to actually build actions. And so if you're interested and you can do a little bit of Go, you can go look at the existing providers out there and build your own actions into those providers. From what I saw and just briefly looking through the code for one of them, they're not overly complex to implement. You just have to know what the API call is and then like the expected result for it. So yeah, if you're feeling a little gritty, you can get out there and build your own actions. But yeah, they have to be part of a provider. So that's that's going to be the delay to actually getting them implemented everywhere, is how quickly the providers can move.
Totally. That's always been the case.
Yeah.
That's just how this ecosystem works. And it won't take them long, particularly the hyperscalers.
Yeah. The other big thing, do you have any questions about actions beyond like what we just talked about?
I don't think, are there any actions that they coordinated with providers to launch with as examples, like the Docker build or the CDN clear at AWS? Do those exist today?
There are definitely actions for the AWS provider, and I will look them up as we're talking. In addition to those actions, the one that they demonstrated, because, IBM, Red Hat, they're all under the same umbrella now. There is a action to invoke a run on, Ansible Automation Platform, AAP. So there's an AAP action to like invoke an Ansible playbook on the Ansible Automation Platform once you have created or updated something. So that's
cool.
Yeah.
I've tried to implement that stuff before, and there's so many edge cases. I eventually gave up. And is it not called Tower anymore? Did they change the name? That wouldn't surprise me at all.
Okay. Yeah, it's called, the paid version is Ansible Automation Platform. I feel like the non-paid paid
I bet
one or
you're
like the
right.
free version is called something else.
Okay, yeah, makes sense. Plus,
Oh,
enterprises change names every 30 days, so.
AMG Lover asked if actions store anything in state. That's a good question. I honestly don't know the answer. I'm gonna have to dig in and find out because I'm curious now if that's getting packed into state somewhere to capture like the last action run and what its status was, or if it's just something that's recorded as part of the resource. So good question.
I'm going to make a guess. I'm going to make a projection based on no facts, mind you, that these actions are tied to verbs. They're tied to a thing happening that is in memory in Terraform during a run. Create, update, delete. It doesn't have to store a state because you don't care about that. You just know that a verb is happening, which triggers an action. So if I was building it my lonesome, which I couldn't, I would build it that way. But if anyone knows for sure, if you've seen it in the docs, please let us know because I have no idea for real.
Okay. I looked at the most recent release for the AWS provider, and there is a code build start build action. Holy cow. That's huge for anybody using code build because they probably wanted that for a really long time. There's AWS SFN start execution. I don't know what SFN stands for.
Sparkle formation.
I love it.
That's interesting that would be implemented because it's tying into like the non-Terraform thing. The Terraform alternative will help you with our competitor.
Sparkle formation's an actual thing?
Yeah, it's an actual thing.
I thought you were just being sparkly.
Sparkle formation is a thin DSL. It's a thin veneer over CloudFormation. So it's like a Ruby tool that helps output CloudFormation. And I have used it because it's incredibly... Oh, Manu says step function. Maybe I've guessed the wrong SFN.
More sense.
That does make more sense.
Yes, step function. Okay.
Where's our producer at, Ned? That could have tapped me on the shoulder.
We don't have producers. We're not that fancy. So yes, there are a few actions. You can kick off a step function. You can kick off a code build, and you can put events. So those are like a few of the things you can do today. There will be more, I'm certain, in the future. So yeah, that exists. That is a thing now. The other big sort of community addition, that's hard to say, is Terraform search.
I'm very interested in this.
Okay. So the core idea here is, what if Terraform could discover your existing infrastructure and then build out Terraform code so you can get it imported? This has been like one of the #1 GitHub issues since Terraform was created. Because yeah, most people are not building net new. They're inheriting existing infrastructure. How do you discover it and get it codified? So
yeah,
instead of going into a Terraform configuration, it's going to go in its own file type. That's like tfquery.hcl, I think is the file extension on it. And when you run a Terraform search, you'll define different different resource types that you want to search for, and then inside those search blocks will be properties and filters for the resources you're searching for. So maybe I want all AWS instances that have a specific tag associated with them. And when you run the Terraform search, it will find all those matching AWS instances, and then it can generate the Terraform resource block and import block for each of them. So you can just get them imported right into your Terraform config. It's something that kind of already existed for Azure. If you've ever looked at, it used to be called AZ Terrify, but now it's called...
Terrify is an incredible name. I appreciate that they think it's too edgy, but it's so memorable. It should definitely be called Terrify still.
It should be called Terrify. That's what, yeah, AMG Lover just brought that up. The Azure Terraform. It's now the Azure Terraform export tool, which Terrify was so much better, but I get it. So that's sort of what that tool did or does. what is different about this is if you look at the code behind that tool or cloud, was it Cloud Terraformer or something? There's a couple different tools out there that do that. What
Mhm.
they've had to do is build this massive key value like hash table of the resource type in the provider to the actual way that it's expressed in each of the different clouds.
Mhm.
So an AWS instance in the provider maps to an instance ID in AWS. So they had to build these mega maps, and every time a new resource is added, you'd have to update your map with those latest resources and how everything maps inside of it. What HashiCorp is doing is bringing all of that list functionality directly into the provider. So now every resource type is going to have an identity, an identity field that allows it to uniquely identify one of those instances in the cloud provider, and then also the mapping for the different fields. So it'll be much easier to find those resources and generate the code, and you're not maintaining a separate mapping of this to that. It's all just contained within the provider now.
I think that is really cool, and it's surprising that it's taken so long. For the longest time, I swear, more than 5 years, you've been able to create just a tiny little MVP of a resource and then say import and then run a plan. And it gives you that output of like, oh, all these fields are different. And then I would copy paste that and remove the little minuses and remove the little pluses. And like, if I can do that from just that simple, like surely that's automatable. So it's way later than I expected to see something like this, but I think it's incredibly powerful, particularly for those folks like me that are using like Sparkle Formation, CloudFormation, ARM templates, and Terraform, and I don't want to learn 4 languages. I want to learn 1 language. So if I can bring it all under one Terraform house, that's fantastic. And I'm a larger future Terraform Cloud customer with all my managed resources.
Yeah, the demo they showed during the keynote actually used a UI inside of HTTP Terraform to demonstrate it. But that's not necessary. That was just like, hey, we can, further enhance the workflow through this. Instead, you can just do the whole thing via the command line. You don't need a fancy UI to do the import process. I guess the big thing is they had to change some stuff on the back end of Terraform to enable this functionality, because it's basically adding the list function to each provider and each resource type. So this, again, kind of like the actions, is going to require updates across all the providers to support the search functionality. So that's going to take a while. I'd say for the major providers, it'll go pretty quick, but for like all the little tiny providers you might use or less well-maintained ones, they might not support search for a while.
That's interesting. I see comments from AMG Lover and Manu. Both are implementing this themselves. I have implemented this myself. And just there's probably 10 people on this call at max, and that like half of us have built this ourselves with PowerShell or Bash. Let's go, Hashi. That's awesome. Good for you.
Yeah. This has just been an ongoing thing for a long time, and there's been third-party solutions that tried to deal with it, and now it's going to be nice that it's just first party incorporated right into everything. And I love that they didn't put it behind a paywall. It's just part of Terraform core. You can use it. You don't have to pay them anything for it.
Love that. And it's easy to see where they're going 2 steps into the dark in front of us. They're going to show you a snapshot of the entire world of your account and then show you what's managed. Well, you're 60% managed with Terraform. Click this button to improve that, to, import the rest of the stuff. And I'm sure that's not available yet, but surely that's coming to like Terraform Cloud. Surely that'll come to Spacelift and other open source tacos.
That's something that Firefly has actually done for a while.
Okay.
Is the ability to scan your existing accounts and determine how much of your stuff is codified. And they did that by plugging into where you're storing your state and where you're storing your Terraform configs, and then also plugging into your actual cloud accounts and then doing a comparison. Does this object have an entry in any of the state files we can see? It does?
Cool.
Okay, then it's codified. It doesn't? Well, you should codify it.
I think that's awesome.
Yeah. So yeah, I've seen this kind of somebody else go down this road, and I'm just like, I'm excited that's going to have first party support. On the visibility thing, on the second day, they announced Project Infragraph.
What is? I have not heard anything about this in the news.
So this is an interest. Like, I don't think they're the first ones to think of this, but I think they're positioned well to implement it. The idea is getting full visibility of your infrastructure by being able to build this. You know, we talked about like graphs of graphs.
Every single podcast anymore. It's coming. If y'all haven't heard that term yet, a lot of tools build their graphs and they don't span to other graphs. So you've got an Ansible graph, you've got a Terraform graph, you've potentially got a bunch of CloudFormation graphs, but they don't talk to each other. So if you want to implement something from like beginning to end, you have to run 3 different tools for 3 different graphs. And so there's starting to be these startups that are like, what if we tie all the graphs together? Then we can handle the entire life cycle.
That is exactly what infrastructure graph is meant to do. It's to take all these different like data sources, and whether that's the different clouds, your HCP stuff. They're also talking about plugging into like ServiceNow and some other stuff, and building a graph of your infrastructure that is more all-encompassing from all these different data sources. This is like very much skunkworks. So I think right now they're only supporting like AWS. It's one of the data sources and HCP Terraform. But the idea is that Infragraph will expand, and they're building it in such a way that you can plug it into agentic AI. So the AI can help you understand your infograph, and then also help you predict how like changes will impact. If you like alter this part of the graph, what's the downstream and upstream effects of that change? Because that's the thing that we talked about, is like, my plan will tell me that it's, you know, removing this Lambda function. But what I didn't know is there's 6 other configurations that are using that Lambda function that are all going to break. But I don't see that. All I see is the graph of what's in that single configuration.
Yeah. And so for like how an application actually gets deployed and runs and it keeps its uptime and security, you kind of just have to map that in your head. Terraform as a tool is not intended to show you how your applications work. It's intended to manage your infrastructure that later on runs your stuff. So whenever I read a Terraform plan, which I swear dozens and dozens a day, now I'm sorting in my head, like, I don't care if we recreate an IAM role, there's no state involved, but I do care that we're rebuilding this database. That's important. I need to do something about that. I need to like sound the alarm. And so these tools that can kind of start mapping, there's an operational impact to this change versus like, I don't know, it's a Lambda that no one uses that hasn't run in the last 2 days. That's really, really relevant. That's really going to help software engineers do a better job. Infrastructure engineers too.
Yeah, I'm thinking from an operations standpoint, like everybody in the ops center, you know, why did this change break everything? They can look in the graph, and they can even ask some agentic AI and be like, hey, what was the impact of this change? Why did it happen? It reminds me a lot of what System Initiative was showing us with how their tool builds sort of like a digital twin and has this larger graph context it's using. This goes beyond just the individual cloud though, and could potentially span multiple clouds and, you know, your on-prem real estate too, if it can tie into those data sources. So like I said, very early days. It was a day 2 announcement, and it's funny, it was day 2 announcement. But it definitely has a lot of potential for infrastructure, like lifecycle management. So I want to keep my eye on it.
Yeah, it definitely feels like they're gunning for the System Initiative idea of the world, the graph of graphs, and you want to be able to predict what happens in the ripple. And I love stuff like this because I hope that we'll get to a super tool. I know we always talk about super tools, but like if you want to build an EC2 instance and then deploy the application and then deploy the database and then deploy the CloudFormation that builds the CloudFront, like you're moving between graphs all the time, and there's this long list of dependencies. And for an enterprise, you might have to like run a Terraform and then run another Terraform and then run the first one with some flags that are changed because now they're and that is just so soul killing because it's just not interesting. And it's of course obvious, it's totally required for your data calls to work. So if we can have this super tool that can sort of deploy parts of the state and tie things together, Manu, yes, we are. Please build
Every
this
time.
thing. You'll solve so much pain. You'll help us so much. Just go build. It'll, only take 3 years and $50 million to build. So like, it's all you.
God, there's definitely something in the air where people are looking at like what AI can do and the fact that we don't have this broader visibility into our infrastructure and kind of going like, well, we need a graph of graphs.
Yep.
We also need AI to help us. And those two concepts are definitely like being tied in together. And I can think of 4 products on the market that are trying to do this. I'm just really curious to see with IBM kind of like funding Project Infograph, what that means.
Yeah, me too.
There was one more thing that they previewed, and they brought back a very special guest to help preview it. Mitchell Hashimoto came back.
I've heard of that guy.
Co-founder of HashiCorp. Yeah.
Just to speak, right? He's not coming back to IBM?
He's not coming back to HashiCorp.
Okay.
He's not coming back to work there. So speaking of funding, IBM is helping HashiCorp fund the filming of a documentary called Code. And it's all about the secret life of what powers our modern society. And it's sort of the brainchild of Cole Morrison.
Yes, in passing.
Okay, so it's his and Jay Fry and a couple other people from HashiCorp kind of made this moonshot. We would love to make a documentary, and it got greenlit with funding. And so they shared this idea with Mitchell, and he was so interested in it being done right and telling the story properly that he's kind of like coming back part-time to assist with just this documentary as the script gets written and the planning gets underway to make sure that the story is told from a practitioner point of view, but it's going to be aimed at a general audience.
Interesting.
Yeah. So this is, they previewed a little trailer of it, and I got a chance to talk to the producer and the director who are behind it, and I'm interested. I'm excited to see what this looks like when they're done, because it is wild to think about how much of our modern society relies on code running in the background.
Yeah. And my parents have absolutely no idea what I do for work. So it sounds like that'd be a good...
Just be like, go watch this movie.
Yeah, it's
Leave me
like
alone.
code related. It's computers is what my parents... It's computers.
I do computers.
So if I talk about Cloud or Terraform, I would lose them. So maybe this will reach that audience and help them understand.
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping for. Yeah, so I mean, overall, my experience was great. I love the community there. Regardless of how I feel about, licensing changes and all that stuff, the community is why I keep coming back, because it's filled with awesome people. And yeah, they really it just gives me a nice warm feeling being there and chatting with people. And it's a small enough conference that you really can take a moment with a lot of people. So I had a great time. If anybody wants to go next year, it's going to be in Atlanta. So we're going back to the East Coast, and it will be starting on my birthday.
That's a good excuse to meet you there, Ned. Come and celebrate.
Everybody come to HashiConf next year and celebrate my birthday on October 26th. That's what I would want. That's my birthday present from everybody, is show up to HashiConf and give me a cupcake or something. It's getting about time. Is there anything you want to mention, plug before we drop off for the day?
No, we have a lot of great podcasts coming up. Pretty soon we'll be front loading to get around the holidays. We usually take some time away from podcasting, if you can imagine it. So we'll have a lot of guests recording pretty soon, and they'll just slowly drip drop onto your feeds. So coming soon.
Yeah, if anybody's interested, let's see, oh, we've got a really good conversation with Christian Posta from, oh my, Glue, Solo.io. That's what it is. I thought of their mascot before I thought of the company name. From Solo.io. That was a great conversation. You brought him on to talk.
I did. Identity. I love the AI conversations that are happening. But how do they authenticate and run? Do you give your bot its own identity, or do you delegate a token for it? What if you give it an admin token and it deletes everything? So we got to understand, I mean, the MCP and OS specs have to keep evolving and getting ready. And we all collectively need to understand what levers we have to keep our stuff secure. Because we're not only managing humans that we have to train, we're managing AIs that are very naive and often over permissioned and will do dumb stuff.
Yes.
The database is overloaded. I'm going to delete the front end. Problem solved. So that kind of stuff is scary. So this conversation is all about that, which is a problem we'll all need to understand and solve for ourselves and our businesses in the next year or two.
Yeah, that'll be dropping on the 8th. And then on the 22nd, we have an awesome conversation with Malcolm Matalka from Terra Team. I almost said TerraMate. It's Terra Team. Just talking about the future of IAC. And I think it ties nicely into what we talked about today.
Yeah, absolutely.
And what was I going to say?
You were just a humble attendee, huh, Ned? Huh?
I wasn't going to mention it, but Manu's right. On day one during the keynote, they had like basically the original ambassador crew. They gave us special jackets and had us all stand up.
That's so cool. How many was the first round, the first cohort?
I don't know the official original number, but I know that out of them, current ambassadors is like 8.
Oh, that's incredible.
So there was like 8 of us standing there with our jackets to celebrate the 10th anniversary of HashiConf and our status as ambassadors through the years.
10 years of being an ambassador, or is it like 7-ish?
Ambassador started in 2020, so we're on like the 6th year of it.
Okay.
But yeah, I've been an ambassador since they started the program.
That's super cool.
Yeah, I wasn't going to mention that, but anyway. Cool, man. Well, we've got some awesome episodes planned, and we're going to do this again in a month. And I thought maybe we'd invite some guests, so you'll have to tune in and see who those guests might be. Until then, thank you everybody for watching, and have a good month.
Heck yeah. Happy October.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks all.